Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And we are here with Richard Gray from Visit Lauderdale, the Senior Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. How are you, Richard?
I am absolutely awesome. Listen, I'm at the beach. How great is that, right?
Are you
Well,
sure? Are you sure that's not green screen?
okay, it's green screen.
I love it. Now, you and I just go way back because you have been kind of this anchor, this pioneer in bringing the LGBT world of Fort Lauderdale to the greater around the world through travel and so much. And so, I mean, how long have you been doing this now?
Well, today actually is 25 years.
Wow.
We were one of the very first, at that time, we were a convention and visitors bureau. We were one of the very first CVBs
Yeah.
to look at the LGBT market. And at that time, we didn't have the courage or the confidence to use the word gay.
Yeah.
So we used a word that was very safe, and that was rainbow. So
Okay.
we started with these baby steps. And I would say very quickly, within 5 years, the destination found gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
And we became confident, and our stakeholders here in the destination were very confident too, as well as our elected officials. And they saw what an important market the LGBT market was for obvious economic reasons.
Yeah.
And also because it is very much an integral part of the DNA of this destination, of our resident community. So with that newfound confidence that I could actually say gay, we kind of used the word gay, and then we went to GLBT, and then obviously that's not politically correct, so we went to LGBT, then we went to LGBTQ. We were the first destination to add Q. And then I kind of backtracked, and I had been considering plus. And so for me, it was becoming a little bit of an alphabet soup.
Yeah.
And we are so inclusive. So I decided that LGBT plus was inclusive, and it was sufficient for us.
Yeah.
So we add plus. I know lots of people say Q and that Q plus, but that's where we are.
Well, you guys have been with this outreach. So I mean, all these years you've been out there in print and lots of online and videos. And I even saw you not too long ago at New York during World Pride. So I mean, you guys have really been out there.
Well, first of all, gay tourism probably accounts for over 10 to 12% of tourism to the county.
Okay.
So you're looking at the $1 billion market here for the county.
Yeah.
So everybody knows the importance of LGBT tourism. We have an LGBT visitor center. We're one of the very few destinations in the United States that has an LGBT visitor center. And we partner with them, and they distribute a marketing piece that we use, and we distribute to media that come into town, or also to group business, LGBT group business, or very diverse group business we have in town. We also have a very active chamber for the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce here in Fort Lauderdale, who we also partner with. And so that's important. And, you know, lots and lots of the hotels, lawyers, attorneys, and whatever are part. So people here know, the community knows the importance of tourism. We have a very, very large resident LGBT plus community. And in Wilton Manors, we have hundreds of LGBT owned and operated businesses.
Yeah.
So for me, this is a destination that absolutely thrives. And because we're a destination that thrives, and we have a very, very progressive CEO in Stacey Ritter, and our elected officials, our county commissioners they believe and support us in every way and want us to push the envelope. And personally, that's something that I've always done, is push the envelope. It kind of started really for me in the 80s when I lived in New York City, and I was one of the very first volunteers for gay men's health crisis, and just going through that horrific that horrific crisis in New York, I realized that you've got to speak out.
Yeah.
And there were so many people that were vilified because, you know, they had AIDS, HIV, and people wouldn't go near them, or, you know, families disowned them. And that was a big learning curve for me to really stand up for equality and stand up for acceptance, inclusion, all sorts of things. So that gave me the strength, I think, and the vision that when I became involved in tourism here for Broward County, for Greater Fort Lauderdale, always to push the envelope, that it was never enough. You can always do better. And so, as I said earlier, you know, we were very successful very quickly in finding gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
And so we started to really break down this platform. And so we, you know, we looked at the lesbian market. We did various studies through community marketing. We looked at the millennial LGBT market. And then our historic moment really was when we looked at the transgender market. There wasn't a destination in the world, this was pre-Caitlyn Jenner, that would even consider looking at the transgender market. But for me, Greater Fort Lauderdale, so we are a majority county. Most people that live here, believe it or not, are Black or brown. White people are in the minority. We have 170 nationalities that live here in this beautiful resort destination. We have 140 languages spoken at home. So this is diverse here. This is a very diverse community. So it seemed right to use my platform to speak out for transgender people and to educate not only gay and lesbian people, but also our allies on trans and being trans and, you know, the transgender community. So we created a campaign called Where Happy Meets Go Lucky. And in fact, we were acknowledged too by the United Nations for our commitment, and we were used as a case study for our trans initiative. And on the back of that, we garnered the largest trans conference in the United States. The Southern Comfort Trans Conference moved from Atlanta to Fort Lauderdale under their president, Lexi D, because they wanted to have their conference in a destination that supported them. And they had never had, in Atlanta, they had never had, you know, the Atlanta CBB had never reached out to them and say, how can we help you? You know, what can we do for you? And so when I reached out to Lexi and I said, I'm really interested in talking to you about Southern Comfort and for you to consider, you know, moving this conference to Fort Lauderdale, she was gobsmacked. She was like, what? You know, she couldn't understand that a destination wanted this group, this piece of business. And we knew that, you know, how the importance of safety. We did a big research study through community marketing. It was the first ever travel trans study ever done. And we made it publicly official. So you can just go to community marketing's website and you can pull it up. But one of the things that we learned was that like trans people traveled, they stayed in hotels, they were business travelers, you know, overall, there were no real issues going through airports with TSA, but the big issue obviously was safety. Yeah. And we know that we're a very safe destination. And unbeknownst to me, when we were doing this study, we found out that actually Fort Lauderdale, we have a well-known surgeon here who does trans surgery here. And so already transgender travelers were actually coming to Fort Lauderdale for surgery and recuperating here before they headed back home. So that was very, very good. So that platform we integrated into our mainstream market. And I think it was in 2017 in Times Square on New Year's Eve, we launched a campaign I'm just trying to remember the name of it. Of course, it eludes me now. But we launched it in Times Square, and it included this most incredible transgender woman called Isabella Santiago, who was a former transgender Miss World. And she was absolutely stunning. And that ran on a billboard, on a digital billboard for 3 months. So that shows our commitment to this platform.
Was that the one called #GreaterTogether, or was that?
No, we created that after. I'm just trying to remember. I will remember in a minute. I'm embarrassed that I've forgotten. But Greater Together was also another campaign, and which we did because of Trump. I mean, pure and simple. Trump didn't want all these people coming to the United States. Well, I've got news for you. Greater Fort Lauderdale did. We're very clear in the fact that we are a destination that welcomes all people, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of the color of your skin, irrespective of who you love, or irrespective of how you identify. We welcome everyone. We're genuine, and that's how it is here. And so we purposely created a campaign called Greater Together. Because if you look at it, we are stronger together, we're smarter together, and we are greater together. And we're greater together as a community. And even more so now, as an LGBT plus community, we really need to unite more. I remember in my AIDS days in the 80s that, we used the word unity so much, and it's kind of disappeared from the scene. You don't hear people talking about unity, but I'm a big believer in unity now. I think it's a word that needs to be resurrected. There's so much going on, especially going through, for us all surviving this horrific pandemic, and going through business, so many people losing their jobs, just losing their businesses, women, just trying to feed their children in this country. For me, it's just hard to imagine that in the United States of America, it was a country where people couldn't eat, they couldn't put food on the table. Is mind-boggling to me.
I agree.
I think we have a platform that we can speak out, and we can educate, and people listen to us. And I think people obviously listen to me. I know I have a big platform, and because I push the envelope, and we push the envelope successfully, and we've done it in a very tasteful, authentic way, and it comes from our heart. It comes from our heart. We want to make a difference, and I know we will, and we are making a difference. In the pandemic, obviously I had much more time on my hands than I would normally, because I wasn't traveling 2 weeks a month. So we really pushed a new campaign called Celebrate You. And I felt you was really important, because we'd had the Greater Together campaign where we're all greater together. But I wanted to narrow that Greater Together down. So I came up with Celebrate You. Now, you is, what is you? You could be gay. You could be lesbian. You could be non-binary. You could be disabled. You could be trans. I wanted to broaden that. And so for me, Celebrate You, I wanted to say, wow, how great it is to be you. We want to be you in a wonderful, safe destination like Greater Fort Lauderdale. And not only that, because of what I saw, what was going on in the United States with police and Black people, and that there was not a doubt in my mind. I went to Stacey, my CEO, and I said, I want to add black and brown to the rainbow colors. I mean, we need to make this statement. And so part of the Celebrate You campaign was the addition of black and brown to the rainbow colors and to our marketing. So pretty much that Celebrate You, believe it or not, we rebranded in the pandemic. We had a lot of work going on internally. We may not have had a lot of visitors initially, but we were doing a lot of work internally. So we rebranded. So we are no longer the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau, first of all. And what a mouthful that is. I mean, most people can't even remember it when they're on a podium or anything. Or they'd say CVB, or then they'd say VCB, or so there was always confusion. So our tag, is Visit Lauderdale. So we thought, perfect opportunity. We're Visit Lauderdale. So we rebranded as Visit Lauderdale. New logo, which is totally awesome. It's our wave wall, which I think people relate that wave wall to Fort Lauderdale. And we used it, what I think is a tagline that absolutely sums up who Greater Fort Lauderdale is. And when they come here for a holiday, a vacation.
Yeah.
And our tagline is everyone under the sun.
Okay.
And I think that shows you our journey. I know it's a long way to how I got here, but it shows you how we've evolved from 25 years ago, where we didn't have the courage or the confidence to say gay, we said rainbow, and now we're everyone under the sun. We're looking at the disabled people, we're including disabled people, non-binary people, drag, trans. I mean, how great is that? So I when people talk to me about my job, I have the best job in the world. I mean, what a great job, what a great destination to work for, that gives me the freedom to be creative, to be visionary, to map out where I think we should be going, not just Broward County, not just Greater Fort Lauderdale. I think maybe it's because I'm British, but I think it's being global. I've always thought globally, and I'm afraid to say that Americans just don't think globally, and they really don't think outside the United States of America. I do, and we have a big impact, and all of us, you and I, and many of us in the industry, have enormous platforms that we speak from. And I can never push enough the importance of visibility. And we all have to be visible. We don't have to be leaders in the industry as we are, but just normal everyday people. They can use their platforms to speak out and better educate people. Because I really do believe that, you just can't be invisible, because visibility, if you're visible, visibility can lead to acceptance. And I think when you get that acceptance out there and people feel more comfortable with acceptance, then you can end discrimination. And I think that puts us on a path for equality. And that's something that I'm really hoping that the Biden administration can really deliver this time for us as a community, is equality. And I strive each and every day for equality, and I use that in my platform of inclusion, because I truly believe that if you had to pick two of the most important words to use that globally, the most important word is inclusion. Some people will say diversity. I say inclusion. The reason I say inclusion means that all people are respected, accepted, and valued, okay? So diversity means recognizing everyone's unique qualities and strengths. Now, if you don't have inclusion, those diverse people are going to leave that company. So you've got to look at it that way. Now, if they stay in that company, the optics are so much better for that company, because generally, you know, corporations will tell you that that leads to greater profitability.
Mhm.
And at the end of the line, obviously, everything is about greater profitability. But more importantly, too, you have a happy labor force. You have people that are happy to come to work, who they are,
Mhm.
how they identify, and they're not frightened. And there's nothing more awful, in my opinion, than somebody that is fearful of being who they are. And I really feel strongly about that,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
acceptance. So, you know, I do a lot of work in travel, but I do believe that my overall vision is is more travel specific.
Yeah, yeah.
But travel is my strength, and it's travel that gave me that platform to speak out for equality and to
Yeah,
speak
yeah.
out for all these things, you know, around the world. I mean, I am not US centric. You know,
Yeah, no, I
we
hear
all
you.
we all know how many countries to this day that you can't visit where you're
Yeah,
criminalized for being homosexual.
yeah,
Or can you imagine being transgender in a country like Rwanda or something like that? I mean, I can't even, I can empathize, but I can't even imagine.
yeah,
You
yeah.
wonder why the suicide rates are so high. You wonder why those people are, you know, fall away from society. I mean, it's horrific.
Yeah. Well, tangential to the world of travel that you're talking about, you have pride on your shirt. And I think I love this. And I think it's safe to say that you're next week, Stonewall Pride in Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale. It's going to be one of the first prides back in the real world. So I know I'll be there and I'm looking forward to joining you all there.
I am so excited, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
It is the community here is bubbling. It's going to be packed. I can tell you that now.
Yeah.
So the bars, Hunters, for example, I don't know. It's always packed. It's going to be even more packed.
Yeah.
So the Wilton Mat is going to be great. So we're super excited. We were so disappointed last year. Obviously, we basically had no events.
Yeah.
So we're excited, and I think people want just itching
Yeah.
to get out. You know, we've all lived in this bubble, and actually last week I went attended a county luncheon on the economic engines here for the county, and there were 500 people there, and at first I was in this room with 500 people. I think one person had a mask on. I was like, oh my God, I'm in a room with 500 people. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny, but
Yeah.
it was fine. So I'm excited. I think,
Yeah.
you know, we're definitely, things are looking good.
Yeah.
If I talk about the destination, we are booming in Greater Fort Lauderdale. You know, we basically went from 5% occupancy to 80%. Our hotels are running close to 100% every weekend. We from last year, obviously not a great year, obviously, but we're up over 1,000%. But most importantly, over 2019, we're up around 12% from
Wow.
2019.
Yeah.
So rates are much higher. We had 12 hotels open in the pandemic, during
Wow.
the pandemic.
Yeah.
We have our first Kimpton,
Okay.
absolutely gorgeous Kimpton hotel. It's not on the beach, it's one block from the beach, it's 100 rooms. It's super mid-century modern.
Yeah.
You'd almost think you're in Palm Springs. I mean, it's gorgeous,
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous. And the crown, if you like, is we've got this unbelievable Four Seasons that's scheduled to open at the end of this year, the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're a destination that has boomed really during the pandemic. Was it tough? Yes. We opened up early. Did some of us agree with opening up early? No, because, you know, our governor DeSantis was, you know, I'm not necessarily going to talk politics, but he opened up early, and you know, we did not agree, but he overruled the county, so we had to abide by the rules.
Yeah.
But we opened up, and business really couldn't be better here. I have to tell you that we when the pandemic hit, we had an executive meeting to discuss next steps. What are we going to do here? Where are we going to market first of all? How do you market the pandemic? What do you do? You don't want to be brash and brazen. You've got to be highly sympathetic and whatever, but just keep the destination first and foremost at mind. So we created a Safe and Clean Pledge program for our hotels and all our, restaurants, etc., amusements. And it was a code that they could use that logo, and that visitors would know that this was they adhere to the CDC guidelines, etc. So we pushed that, and we've really focused our marketing reach, really address the drive market. And so we just really looked at Florida and Georgia and North Carolina, and maybe a little bit of Texas. And then all of a sudden, boom, out of the blue, we're packed. We've got people coming from California, because we never thought California would be shut down. All these states would be shut down. You couldn't drink, you couldn't eat, but you could in Florida. So in Florida, was basically wide open, not the whole time, but for quite a while now. So that caught us unawares. So we have been having travelers coming in from everywhere. And then, of course, we're having a lot of people coming in from South America to get vaccinated, which is interesting. That we've turned that COVID into like a tourism. They're filling up a lot. Planes are absolutely full. Our airport is one of the best performing airports in the country at the moment. I mean, we've had one of the quickest recoveries here. JetBlue is our largest carrier. Spirit is our second largest, and it's also our hometown airline in Southwest. So we have really three of the sort of more budget carriers, even though American Airlines have a presence, and of course Delta. But the airlines are doing great business, and they're bringing lots of people here, and everyone is happy.
Very inspiring. Now, like I said, I'm looking forward. It's going to be kind of it'll be always in my memory and others, that as hope transcends across the country and we're starting to feel like we can go out and do things again, Pride in Fort Lauderdale will be one of the first events many of us go to.
Yeah, well, good. I welcome you all with open arms. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to giving you a hug versus a virtual hug. I can't remember when I last saw you, but it must have been a year and a half ago. I don't know which conference we were at together.
At least somewhere. Something like that. Yep.
So
but, I look forward very much to that. And so, but mostly I'm really glad that you were able to take a few moments of your time and kind of share the story of where you guys have been and where you're going.
No, I think it's important. I think I can't reiterate it enough, but each and every one of us, gay, straight, doesn't matter. We've got to speak out. Got to speak out. These are times when you've got to speak out. I mean, this is a bumpy ride ahead of us. This is not a slam dunk. We've got a lot of challenges. We look at what we've just faced in Florida with the governor and transgender girls at school, athletes. I mean, it's horrific. And we have to, it hurts us, Greater Fort Lauderdale. And look, we have been the global leader in trans. It's kind of a slap in the face for us as a destination where the governor makes a decision like that. And here we are in Greater Fort Lauderdale in a purple state, which is becoming more Republican. We're so inclusive and diverse. We're an oasis, Greater Fort Lauderdale. We have to deal with that, which is challenging. We have Jazz Jennings, as you probably know, is an incredible trans youth. Well, she's a young lady now, has her own TV show here for the last 7 years. And she herself, had challenges at school, wanting to compete in sports. difficult times. We've really got to lobby our elected. Well, first of all, wherever you work, leadership starts right at the top of the ladder. There's no good having a middle person have great ideas. You've got to sell those ideas to the person that sits right at the top of the ladder, the president, CEO. Once you've got their support, you get that trickle-down effect. So you've got to work there. You've got to work with your community. You've got to work with your elected officials. We've got to do it. And you've got to speak out on all your social media channels. It's that reinforcement, and also just our allies. I mean, who would have thought, I've been in this, for a long time. And who would have thought that, we would have had marriage equality, right?
Yeah.
I never imagined that we would have marriage equality. And I think, now we've got all these other challenges now. So we've got to unite together and speak out and not be afraid. Speak out. It's to everyone's benefit. Yeah. So
I hear you.
I'm kind of excited really about things. I think sometimes when you're pushed down, you become more creative and bounce back and fight back. So, I'm very excited about the future. I'm certainly excited about the travel and tourism future. Obviously, this is going to be a very strong year domestically in the United States. I really do not see a big pickup in international travel like some people are saying. I just don't see it. I think people are saying, yes, they want to travel internationally. But honestly, when it comes to the crunch, and I'm someone that just came back from London 2 weeks ago, and I'm going there in 2 weeks' time, you're still dealing with 5-day quarantines. There's still going to be issues in Europe and Asia and whatever. And as appealing as it may sound to say I want to go on a safari this year or whatever, I don't see it. I see international travel starting to pick up next year. I think that people just want to be closer to home, whether they're gay, whether they're straight, it doesn't matter who they are. They just want to be closer to home, where they know that we may have flown here, but if I need to get home, I can drive home. I think that people need that security, and we all need to adjust. We all need to adjust to this new life that we're living, this new post-pandemic life. As I said to you, I was at this luncheon last Friday, and I shook someone's hand, and I thought, God, I haven't shaken a hand for over a year, and because it was just something I wasn't doing, because I was just constantly washing my hands. And I certainly wasn't going to touch anyone's hand. I wouldn't touch anyone's phone. I wouldn't touch anything of anybody's. So, we've changed. We've come through it, and we're not through it completely. And Biden, for example, has done an unbelievable job. But, I think by next year, I really see international travel pick up, certainly to Europe. I'm not sure about Australia and New Zealand and that. I think they're still talking about staying locked down till the middle of next year. So I'm not sure about that. But domestically, I think this is, people are looking. I think we had this conversation pre-filming this, that obviously there are traditional destinations, say like Greater Fort Lauderdale, we're the LGBT capital of Florida. So our biggest market, Northeast. Most people in the Northeast, they know Fort Lauderdale. If they're LGBT plus, they know Fort Lauderdale. They know we're a thriving community with, 40 gay bars. I mean, I can't keep up with the gay bars. I think we have the most gay bars of any city in the United States. So I think that, it's changing. So I'm excited.
Me too. Well, again, look forward to seeing you next week. And thanks again so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Take care.